So over the past couple of days, I have been reflecting on the recent chapter of Attack on Titan, 127. And truth be told, I feel the effect of that chapter, the impact for it, what it does for the story, what it does for its characters, and how Hajime Isayama has actually approached every single decision, every single showcase for each individual character is so vitally important to not only Attack on Titan's story, but for the future. What this chapter does and how it showcases everyone's perspectives and everyone's viewpoints and emotions behind it, mind you, which are all very justified and validated to some degree, also paints some sort of future. It's not a concrete future, but it's an idea. It's a future that is wanted by everyone, but is not easily obtained. It's a future that one should expect, but with the world that they live in, the things that they face, and the hatred that is perpetuated generation through generation, it's something that is non-existent until now. 127 does a lot for the story, it does a lot for characters, it does a lot for us as readers, and it's taken me a couple of days to reflect on it, let it simmer, and really build up the somewhat emotional impact that it has for me personally and for the story. For me, 127 embodies everything that is Attack on Titan to some degree. It embodies Hajime Isayama's writing, his approach towards characters and emotions, but also his approach towards different people's perspectives and how they showcase them and how they share them, how they ultimately conflict with one another. That is one of the morals of Attack on Titan's story. People from different ends of the earth with different paths, different ideologies that massively hate each other, that have been scrutinized, segregated, that have been trained to kill, have slowly started to come together to fight a bigger threat, to fight a bigger opponent that is bigger than everything, that is bigger than the hatred that has been circling for generations, bigger than the ideologies that have been created and instilled into children for generations, that's bigger than everyone. Is something so cataclysmic like Eren Yeager, the power that he holds, the things that he wants to do, the links that he has been pushed to, is a very tragic showcase of what the world has created, what this continued cycle of hatred has actually created. So with the power that Eren has and what he's planning to do and how that has caused this ripple effect to allow people that have been fighting each other for generations to come together, it's incredible to see. It's the first time you'll see something like this, and potentially even the last time you'll see something like this of such high value and high stake. If there was ever a time to work with your enemy, this would be it. To change the future, to change humanity's point of view. Us as readers got such a phenomenal experience with 127, which was slowly built in the previous chapters before it. A lot of people didn't like those previous chapters, but with 127, you understand why those slow stepping stones were placed there. They all collectively led up to 127, and we had so many point of views across so many different experiences, across so many different variety of ages and differences, ideologies, hatreds, all coming together, sitting down and talking to one another, expressing their concerns and their opinions and their distaste towards one another. There was no real standout for me. Every single character had their moment, some more than others. Jean, for example, was more of a headliner if anything. He had a lot of experience within this chapter, a lot of reflection and a lot of personal grudges with people. Obviously Reiner and the whole Marco situation, but seeing him grow as a character, seeing him confront the idea and the situation towards what happened with Marco is an extremely eye-opening thing. For a character that's not necessarily considered part of the main cast throughout the majority of the story, but has obviously come back into the picture pretty full throttle, Jean getting that clarification, getting that closure, something that he never had, something that he never knew he would experience, but he did from the person that was a part of it. You see the emotion that channels within him, the rage, the anger, and how he takes it out on Reiner. What was surprising was General Magath as well, and he was somewhat of the underdog, I believe, for this chapter, even though he headlined it with Jean as well, with approaching the hatred and even mentioning the history between Eldians and Malians, which is vitally important for us to understand with the context that we know. And is actually somewhat of a first for us, seeing two people in today's times talk very slightly about the history and how they perceive it. Seeing how Jean would rebuttal the situation, and seeing how General Magath would be stubborn towards everything, but then Jean would also be stubborn about it. You can see how they conflict front on, but you can see the emotion behind it as well. I was surprised to see that General Magath's perception towards everyone within the group, but also the mindset behind Eldians and even the mindset behind his own people, such as Gabby, be changed or swayed very deeply, almost seemingly to his core. For someone that has been raised within Mali, that has been trained and is a general of an army, that has this ideology, that knows this history, that knows the hatred, someone that has trained people and pushed people to their limits, seeing someone like Gabby, a child that has experienced death of her loved ones, that has experienced the destruction that the Eldians have with the devastation of Liberia, obviously, seeing her families die and the rebuttal she took to kill Sasha, yet seeing her so guilty, confronting grief, confronting guilt, and apologizing, seeing the tension on her face is something she wholeheartedly agrees with now. How much Gabby has changed over the past couple of chapters has been a perfect example of what the future can hold. She is the next generation of the cycle of hatred, and if they can lessen that burden bit by bit with someone like Gabby at the front of it, the future looks a whole lot brighter. But Gabby herself has a massive ripple effect, just like General Magath, just like Jean, just like Mikasa, Annie, everyone within this chapter. They all have ripple effects that spread onto everyone else, and their emotion is very contagious towards everyone else. Seeing Gabby in that position, with that emotion, with that intensity, changed something within General Magath, made him question something, just for a split second. For someone that seemed so stubborn and stuck within his ways, seeing Gabby, a child of the future, that is an incredible soldier, be so forgiving, confronting her own guilt and apologizing, but also asking for help, is something that I don't think he's ever witnessed before. And undoubtedly it made him question if what they were doing was right, if what they were doing to Eldians was right, if what they were doing to their own children was right. This ripple effect has consequences. It changes people and it multiplies and it continuously grows and becomes more hardy and healthier, and from there more and more people start to get on board. But what Hajime Isayama has done so beautifully, so effortlessly, so tragically as well, is that he set in motion so many different people across the earth, the possibility of them coming to an understanding. If some of the most pivotal people within Attack on Titan's universe that we know about can work together, can understand one another, can understand one another's emotions and hatred and anger and guilt, and if they can confront that together, then a future of coexisting with one another can be some sort of a possibility. This is what Hajime Isayama has put in motion. 127 has opened up the floodgates for all of that to be a possibility, and it was something that we have been waiting on as readers for an extremely long time, and we were very nervous on if it would actually happen. We didn't know what the future held for Eldians, or even Malians, even the rest of the world, but 127 clarifies and clears up a lot of different things for it. It wouldn't be impossible for Malians and Eldians to coexist now, off that single chapter alone. But that doesn't mean everyone's going to change instantly. Doesn't mean everyone's going to work together or want to work together. But the biggest step towards reform, the biggest step to being progressive and understanding the other person, comes with that first step. And 127 was that. It was the first step to a future of understanding, a future where everyone lives to a fair extent, where everyone lives equally and not segregated from one another. Understanding that both sides have hatred, both sides have differences, both sides have problems and guilts and things that they wish they could take back. Both sides have confronted loss like no other. Understanding that on equal footing, pushing forward from that, and creating a future where these understandings can bloom into something better, that can bloom into a future where people can live in harmony, in peace, and potentially freedom. The cost of this doesn't come at nothing, however. The cost of this is one of the biggest things to shake the world. It is a singular person that has tried to push for this option for the longest of times, that has gone against the grain for the longest of time. Eren has took reins on an action and the consequences for it to save his own people. Now, whether those actions are intentional or whether he's trying to push a different agenda forward, whether he's trying to make himself the villain and the center of everything to get people to work together wholeheartedly, is unknown to us. We don't know where Eren's intentions lie, what his emotions are behind it, but we know that he's tried his best. He's been pushed to his limits and he had no other option. What Eren has done already is something that no other character could have done, that no other character within the generations of hatred, no person has succeeded. Think of it like this: Eren has only threatened to destroy the world. He has activated a power that he hasn't even used to attack yet, and already people from opposite ends have come together to confront one another, to understand, and to work with one another to stop him. This is all just the beginning, and it's already created an opening and a conversation and a line of dialogue for a potentially better future, and a future to understanding other people and accepting them. There is an extremely long road ahead, but looking back on 127 and what it done for the story, how it embodies Hajime Isayama's writing and how it embodies Attack on Titan is incredible. That chapter alone has so much value towards it. For me, 127 stands out on its own within the whole series of Attack on Titan. We've been waiting for it for an extremely long time, and the amount of pressure, tension, and emotion behind it was perfect, and finally opens up the door to a future of potential understanding. So with that being said, that is basically it. Let me know how you feel about chapter 127 now. After letting it simmer for a bit, after reflecting on it potentially, even after watching this video, how do you feel about chapter 127 and what does it do for you? I'd really love to hear your thoughts. But I'm actually going to end the video off here. I hope you all enjoyed and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.